You and I. A moment of happiness. You and I, sitting on the veranda. Apparently two, but one in soul, you and I. We feel the flowing water of life here, you and I. With the garden's beauty and the birds singing, the stars will be watching us, and we will show them what it is to be a thin crescent moon. You and I, unselfed, will be together, indifferent to idle speculation. You and I, the parrots of heaven, will be cracking sugar as we laugh together, you and I. In one form upon this earth, and in another form, in a timeless, sweet land. So we have a task. We have a task. We have a task. And as in the meditation, we want to see that task. We want to see our work through the eyes of Spirit. And through the eyes of Spirit, then we see that you and I are not separate, that we are not apart from, that we are together, a part of. And it's so important for me, and I'm having let's just say I'm having a transition. But I've been remembering things lately, things that I had forgotten, and I want to share. So I was thinking about all the ways. This idea of coming together. This idea of coming together. See, because when I think I might have sent out the text this morning, those of you who got it, said authority, right? And so that's the first thing that I want to say is, if you and I are together, if we're together and we are one, neither can be the authority. I know, sometimes that's hard. Sometimes we want to be the authority, and then there's other times we want the other to be the authority, because for whatever reason we don't want to take responsibility for the next thing. But so if we're together though and one, then the authority cannot rest with any single one, and this is why. Because there really isn't any single one. This is part of the illusion that we have bought into. So then, when we're looking for authority, and when I say authority, I mean direction. I mean, it's not really, I'm not talking about a rule. I'm talking about a way to move forward into the next thing that needs to be done. And so then we seek the authority of something greater than the single one. We seek the authority, as many of you have read and seen, we seek the authority in the expression of a loving God. We seek the authority by coming together and releasing our preconceived ideas, releasing our opinions. Just think about that for a second. To actually come to a decision without consulting our individual opinion. The only way that can happen is by making that surrender to Spirit. And so, all of us, even though it's a Sunday, and this may be a day of relaxation for us, we all have stuff. We've got some stuff that we're going to do today. We've got some plans. We've got some idea about where we're going, what we're going to do. And we can think about that as that's the agenda, that's the task for the day. And we may have some very strong opinions about just exactly how some of those things are going to turn out. I'm going to suggest this morning that we release those and just allow things to develop as they develop. And that doesn't mean that if there are actually things that it's going to be helpful for us to get done, that we don't get them done. There just doesn't need to be the urgency. There just doesn't need to be this sense that this has absolutely got to happen. And if it doesn't turn out the way that we thought that it was supposed to, we just got to be okay with that. This is where this peace is going to come from. And so what's going to happen throughout this day and the next, and is that we are going to find ourselves, wherever it is that we find ourselves, we've got a reason for being there. Now, what the Course says is that the reason that we're here is to be truly helpful. And as we talked about last week, and that we've talked about many times, that really the fulfillment of life comes from the ability to be helpful. The ability and that is, I mean, there's some pretty simple ideas that we talk about here all the time. And that the way that we're really helpful is through forgiveness, and then the application of service, which is to say, those two together, forgiveness and the application of service, those two together are unconditional love. So we have a task. So wherever we are, we have something to do, something to give. Something to do, something to give. And it's so easy, it is so easy to think we know what it is. Sometimes we're confused. Sometimes we're confused and we can't actually figure out what it is that we're supposed to do. But other times we've got this sure, we just know that this is what. I am suggesting today that in either one of those cases, we stop for a moment. Just stop for a moment. It's just a second to get the breath. To get the breath and relax. And then see. We're here to be truly helpful. Being truly helpful means being attuned. And this is, the lesson for today is about Christ's vision. The vision of the Spirit. Seeing everything without the trappings of the past. To see everything that is occurring right now without any blemish from any sort of past mistake or sin, if you want to call it. To get into the moment and see things as they really are right now. So to say that I want to operate out of goodwill. I want to operate out of goodwill. Goodwill being the best for everyone involved. And sometimes, I got to tell you, sometimes the answer that comes back is surprising. Sometimes the answer that comes back as to what is best for everybody involved, you might argue with yourself, and certainly if you related it to someone else, they would argue. But there is a peace. See, when the answer comes back and there's anxiety attached to it, when the answer comes back and there's a sense of need, there's a sense of I've got to, we can be almost positive that this is not Spirit speaking to us. When the answer comes back and it's peaceful, when the answer comes back and it's calm, when the answer comes back and we can feel that love, that connection, that then we can be pretty sure that we're on the right track. So, to be of goodwill. It's so easy to get caught up into trying to figure it out, what we should do, waste of time and energy. If we just get quiet and ask for guidance, we will be guided. Now, I would say this, that to live in the world, there's just work that has to be done every day of one kind or another. And I'm saying there's nothing wrong with making a list. There's nothing wrong with saying these are the priorities of the day. I need to get these things done. There's nothing wrong, and can be very helpful to make a longer term list. And we can call them goals. We can say that I've got this list of goals, and I want to get these things accomplished. But they can't be of overriding importance. Even if something should come up that seems very important and it's attached, we think it's attached to our livelihood, if it interferes with something that comes to us that we feel needs to be cared for right now, with that sense of love, and that sense of peace that comes to us, We need to do that first thing. We need to do. This is the idea of putting first things first. Putting first things first means putting what Spirit says before what the body says. What the ego mind says. So then we surrender. We surrender to this authority of God. If we think about that, all I'm saying is, help me, show me, and it's very important. I am not talking about talking to something out there somewhere. When we ask this question, we're speaking to Spirit within. And what the Old Testament says, the still small voice within us. That's the thing that we want to listen to. And so we relax. And these are visualizations, and they will work whether you believe them or not. This is the most important thing. You don't have to believe anything that I'm telling you. But if you try it, it'll work. So to relax and just say to yourself, I'm in the presence of God. Or if that is a scary thing to say, because you may still be caught up in a lot of guilt and shame, to say, I am in the presence of love. I am in the presence of love. And actually say it to yourself, not just to actually say it, and to say, everyone here is loving me right now. To say it to yourself. And you'll see that there's a little change. There's a little change inside. And then to say, and I am loving everyone here. When we say these things to ourselves, something happens. There's actually a chemical reaction that occurs in the body. But more than that, it begins to open the mind to this possibility. To be thinking that all of life, to say to yourself, all of life is loving me right now. And this is what I want to surrender to. What I want to surrender to is that presence of love. I want to surrender to that presence that's always there, that presence of love. And when we relax into that and realize how close it is, and to know that it is available to us anytime that we want to access it. When we surrender, the focus of the moment becomes the access to the knowledge of what to do. So this is in our 11th step, is I want knowledge of goodwill. I want knowledge of God's will. And I want the energy to carry it out. The only way that I can get either one of those things is to get quiet. And it's very easy to just like read the principle, but to actually think about this idea. What the 11th step is saying is that we're seeking, we are looking for, we are consciously saying that I want to go. When what we're seeking is an improvement. We're seeking a better connection, and to actually put our intention behind that, and not just. It's not just about praying and meditating. It's about trying to make a more solid connection that lasts longer. And what happens as a result of that is these inspirations begin to come to us. Inspiration begins to come to us. And God starts speaking to us through others. Not just in the quiet of our mind, but things that other people say. And this is why this is so important, like if we gather together in any kind of a meeting, a business meeting or whatever, to make decisions about what's supposed to happen for the good of whatever that group is, that we surrender to that presence of the loving God so we can hear God expressing through that person across the table that we don't like. Yes, we're trying to love them sometimes. The only way is to make that surrender. The only way is to actually make that attempt to not see who's across the table. To just know that whoever it is, we're together. We ask Spirit to allow us to hear what we need to hear. Let me hear what I need to hear so that I can share what I need to share. And we practice the presence of God, and then God is actually able to speak through us. Not through you. And so many times when we do this and we get in this frame of mind, we will say something that we have no idea where it came from. Or later we'll have somebody come up to us and say to us, well, you know, when you said this, that was really helpful to me, and we don't even remember saying it. Feel yourself releasing the ego in this surrender. Just to set aside all of the insane babble of the ego. Those thoughts that just keep spinning round and round. Just to interrupt that for a second. The more we do this, the easier it is. Just keep doing it. Just interrupt that cycle. And what ends up happening then is we become informed. We become informed. God is speaking to us through others. When we relax into the presence, we focus on that presence, and we feel that presence extending out from us in all directions. And we realize that we are not the author of our own life. Let me put it this way, that our ego is not the author of our life. Our ego is the author of our mistakes. God is the author of life. And we want to get in alignment with that. And this is really the only thing that we should actually be, the only idea, the only principle, the only entity that we actually should be in awe of is the author, God. If we find ourselves in thrall to someone else, to some other idea, that is what's called an idol. We think that that's a substitute for God. So if we listen closely, we can hear God speaking through other people. It's not necessary that their words themselves be inspiring, although they very well may be inspiring. To hear God, all we have to do is release our judgment. And this is what we're looking for. We're actually looking to experience God expressing himself through people and through everything else that's happening. And this is the thing that frees us from the dangerous world. This is the thing that frees us from our fear, because we become more and more attuned to the fact that we really are safe and sound and that we're really being cared for. So then to start thinking about not only are other people expressing that God is expressing through them, but that we then are an expression of God. And that it's a visual. It's like if it's helpful, what I do is when I think about God expressing through me, I actually kind of visualize that love coming from me to envelop the room. The house, the building, the neighborhood. Just what we do at the end. God is expressing as all living things. This is like such a comforting thing. God is expressing even in circumstances, even when I think the circumstances are horrible, I have to understand that God's expressing there if I can just put the ego aside and get to it. And the reason that this is that God is all there is. So here's really the essence of it. And I used to write this on the whiteboard. First I write God. Then I would write is. God is. God is all. God is all there is. And nothing else is. And this surrender to the author actually starts that mindset to come. And that anything else that I'm confused about, anything else that's worrying me, anything else any other agenda that I may have is nullified when I realize that all of that is an illusion. God is all there is. So we focus on seeing and hearing the divine in and from all things. Then like this, here's I probably said this at the beginning, but it's kind of important. I'm not the boss of anyone. I'm not the boss of anyone. Sometimes I'm a little more forceful than I probably should be. But I'm not the boss of anyone. I need to remember. I should tell myself that 20 times a day, right? And no one is the boss of me. I may agree to take direction from someone. I may agree to go along with this program or that program. I may agree to follow a set of guidelines, but that does not mean that I am actually under the authority of this other person or entity. I need to see that I'm the one making these choices. So I want to release my authority over other people. I want to let go of, this is the biggest thing, let go of expectations. I'm just going to let them be. So it's so easy to get caught up in other people's idiosyncrasies. All the little things that they do that seem to be irritating. To let this go. To know that my job is to teach that which I need to learn myself. So I want to surrender to this authority. And then I want to be loving to teach love. I want to be peaceful to teach peace. I want to be patient to teach patience. I want to commit to teach commitment. There is no need. There's absolutely no need, no matter what it seems like, there is no need to manipulate anybody. I know, if we grew up in a way that we learned how to use guile and manipulation to get what we wanted, and I got to tell you, sometimes we think we're better at it than we really